Hello, my name is Adrienne, and today I will be demonstrating how to explore the buccal surfaces of tooth number 29 and 30 using an 1112 Explorer. First and foremost, since I am focusing on the buccal surfaces of the posterior teeth, I will be seated in the 9 o'clock position to the side of the patient as I would be doing in a clinical setting. Before going to work on the patient, I need to make sure I am using a modified pen grasp. The index finger and thumb are opposite of each other and gently resting on the Explorer, and there should be a space between them. And the handle will rest between the second and third knuckle of the index finger. Now it's also important to note that my index, middle, and ring finger should all be touching because this will create stability when I'm using my instrument. A modified pen grasp is critical for the dental hygienist because it enables optimal safety for both the patient and the operator. Not only does it provide better strength and stability, but it also minimizes injury. I want to make sure I am not applying too much pressure, where in this case I am hyperextending my finger, which will cause injury over time. All right, now let's get back to the teeth so I can show you just how to select the correct working end of the Explorer to use. Fortunately, there are two key visual indicators that will easily tell me if I am doing this right. So I'm going to go ahead and hold my instrument just like this against the distal surface. Now, if the terminal shank is parallel to the distal surface and the long axis of the tooth, as we can see here, and the functional shank is going up and over the occlusal of the tooth, then this is correct and we are off to a good start. However, if the terminal shank is not parallel to the distal surface of the tooth and instead crosses the tooth like this, then we know that this is incorrect. To begin exploring, first I'm going to establish a fulcrum, which is a finger rest 2 teeth away from the tooth that I wish to examine. In this case, I will place my ring finger on tooth number 28, which will serve as my anchor for my hand and will allow my instrument and fingers to move more seamlessly together and provide me with better control. In addition, this will minimize any unintentional movements of the instrument. Next, I'm going to start at the distal buccal line angle of tooth number 30 like so, with my Explorer facing the distal end of the tooth. My elbow is out, and as I go towards the distal surface, my elbow will be moving towards me using lateral strokes like so. All right, I'm going to be going side to side pivot, side to side pivot, side to side pivot, side to side pivot, using very small, gentle, and controlled movements. Now, as I reach halfway into that interproximal space, I will activate a rocking motion for vertical strokes. So it's going to be up and down, up and down, up and down. Then I will carefully pull out of the space, turn my instrument's leading edge towards that mesial surface. So again, starting at that distal line angle, my elbow is tucked in towards me. I'm going to reestablish that fulcrum on tooth number 28. And in this case, I will activate oblique strokes. My elbow will be moving away from me. So I'm going to be doing a side to side pivot, 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 side to side pivot. Now, as I reach the mesial-buccal line angle, I will be adding a roll to that side-to-side pivot. This way, it'll better adapt to the curvature of the tooth. So side-to-side pivot roll, side-to-side pivot roll, side-to-side pivot roll. And now, as I reach halfway into the interproximal space, I will activate that rocking motion for vertical strokes. So it's going to be up and down, up and down, up and down. So now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with tooth number 29. Again, I'm going to establish that fulcrum finger rest 2 teeth away from the tooth I'm working on. In this case, it'll be the incisal edge of tooth number 27. Starting at that distal line angle, my elbow is out. And as I go towards the distal surface, my elbow will be coming towards me. I'm going to begin with lateral strokes in that side-to-side pivot motion. So side-to-side pivot, side-to-side pivot, side-to-side pivot, side-to-side pivot. Again, remembering to be very gentle, controlled, and use small strokes. As I reach halfway into that interproximal space, I will activate a vertical rocking motion. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Then I will carefully pull out of the interproximal space. I'm going to flip my instrument so that the leading tip is now facing towards the mesial surface. Now my elbow is tucked in towards me. I'm going to also begin at that distal line angle, and I'm also going to reestablish my fulcrum on tooth number 27. In this case, I will be performing oblique strokes, and my elbow will be moving away from me. So side to side pivot, side to side pivot, side to side pivot, side to side pivot, side to side pivot. And as I reach that mesial buccal line angle, I'm going to add a roll to that side to side pivot to better adapt to the tooth's curvature. So here we go, side to side pivot roll, side to side pivot roll, side to side pivot roll. And now as I reach halfway into the interproximal space, I will activate a rocking motion, up and down, up and down, up and down. All right. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and learned something new today.